Okay, let's jump right into this explainer. Transport yourself directly to the dense, incredibly humid rainforests of Sumatra, Indonesia. The year is 2020. Imagine you're just hiking through this thick underbrush, and right there on the forest floor, something completely bizarre is unfolding. We're about to look at a biological marvel that challenges literally everything we think we know about nature. And then, as you'll see, we'll explore how this exact mystery points the authors of our source material towards something profoundly deeper about divine design.
Part 1. Bizarre and Gigantic Flower. Right out of the gate, imagine stumbling upon a flower with a staggering diameter of 111 centimeters. I mean, that is over 3.5 feet wide. We're looking at the absolute largest single flower in the entire world.
And it doesn't just look massive, it's incredibly dense. It weighs in at a hefty 10 kilograms, which is about 22 pounds. This is just an absolute behemoth of the jungle, and it goes by the name Rafflesia.
But here is the ultimate mystery, and honestly, the real reason scientists are so obsessed with it. This giant lacks literally everything we assume a plant actually needs to survive. Just think about this for a second. It has no leaves, it has no stems, it has no roots, and it performs absolutely no photosynthesis whatsoever. Like, how is that even a plant?
Section 2. An invisible life.
This brings us to a massive biological puzzle. If it doesn't have roots to pull water from the soil, and it doesn't have leaves to make its own food from the sun, we have to ask, how on earth does it live, let alone grow to be a 10-kilogram monster? Well, the answer to this mystery was actually unlocked relatively recently in a fascinating 2017 paper by Harvard University researchers, Professor Charles Davis and Dr. Leszek Nikoloff. They revealed a completely hidden survival mechanism that is genuinely mind-blowing.
Turns out, the Rafflesia is essentially an invisible freeloader for most of its life. It actually lives entirely inside another plant, specifically the tetrastigma vine. It exists just as this thin, thread-like string of cells, growing completely invisibly inside its host for years. And then, seemingly out of nowhere, it rapidly swells up to the size of a cabbage, breaks through the vine, and bursts into that giant alien-like bloom.
Part 3. Scents and Signals.
Because what happens when this massive flower finally opens up is not just a visual spectacle, it is a complete sensory overload. Listen to how Professor Davis describes seeing and smelling it in person. He said, it was lumpy like a toad, smelled like a dead animal, it was like a wet sponge. Visceral and repulsive, right? The flower emits a scent identical to rotting meat. But why would a plant go out of its way to smell so horrible? Well, it does this to accomplish a highly specific, vital task.
The plant generates a chemical profile that is shockingly similar to that of decaying animal flesh. Because it doesn't have bright colors to attract bees or butterflies, it's specifically designed to attract its primary pollinators, carrion flies. You see, these flies are actively looking for a carcass to lay their eggs on, and the Rafflesia perfectly deceives them into doing its pollination work instead. Talk about a bait and switch.
And this brilliantly illustrates a strategy shared by another botanical giant in the region, the Titan Arum. Researchers actually refer to this plant as the lantern in the rainforest. But it's not emitting light, it's emitting something else entirely to survive in that dense jungle.
As noted by Professor Wilhelm Barthelot from Bonn University, the Titan Arum has a pretty wild trick up its sleeve. The center column of the flower actually heats up, becoming 10 to 12 degrees Celsius warmer than its surrounding environment. It acts exactly like a freshly dead animal, using that thermal energy to broadcast its foul, rotting scent even further into the forest canopy, acting as a giant beacon for those flies.
Section 4. Coincidence or Design.
This is the crucial point where our source material transitions from biology into philosophy. The authors raise a really compelling question. Is it a coincidence? Can we honestly look at a plant that perfectly mimics the exact heat signature and the precise chemical smell required to trick a very specific insect and just call it a mere accident?
Think about it. All of its features, having no leaves, living as a hidden parasite, smelling like literal death, they might seem completely broken, weird, or meaningless at first glance. But when you put them all together, the text suggests they form a flawless, deeply purposeful cycle of life. Every single weird detail appears to be an essential piece of a survival puzzle.
Looking at how every strange detail serves an exact calculated function, it really shifts your perspective. The authors ask whether this highly synchronized system could possibly assemble itself by pure accident. Did this grand purpose just create itself?
Part 5. Nothing is in vain.
This biological mystery actually leads the authors of our source material to a profound theological conclusion. The intricate design we just unpacked perfectly reflects a Quranic verse from the chapter Al-Imran, cited in the text, which states, "Our Lord, you have not created this in vain. Glory be to you." It's the idea that there is absolutely no absurdity in nature, only purpose we might not yet fully understand.
For the authors, the seemingly terrible, rotting smell of the Rafflesia, the deceptive heat of the Titan Arum, and the bizarrely missing roots and leaves, they imply that absolutely none of it is in vain. Through this lens, they argue it isn't some evolutionary accident, but rather a masterpiece of divine design, carefully orchestrated to maintain the delicate balance of the rainforest.
So I'll leave you with this to ponder. The next time you encounter something in nature that seems bizarre, broken, or just like a mistake, will you quickly dismiss it? Or will you look a little closer to find its hidden, perfect purpose? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep questioning, keep exploring, and I'll catch you next time.